I'm Ronnie. All the good names are taken. Podcast with Boz back for another review. And the plan, Boz, was really simple. Before I ask you how you're doing, the plan was really simple. We set a schedule for December, Christmas movies that we wanted to talk about, and a couple of other horror movies to continue on our Friday the 13th reviews. And wouldn't you know it, it's all gone to shit, and we're not able to do it. So called Boz and said, hey, you want to fill in for Blake and talk a little funny farm? And Boz was like, yeah.
Of course.
How you been, Boz?
I'm okay.
You sure?
I think so.
A lot of people bragged and complimented you on how well they enjoyed your reviews during October. So in case I didn't tell you, thank you for all the help during October. You're an all-star. You're a pro.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm here to keep that train rolling. I'm sure we're gonna. I mean, this movie, good times, good times. Funny Farm, Chevy Chase, 89.
88, right?
You're right.
88.
Vacation, Christmas vacation was 89. You're right.
And a lot of people would probably ask, and maybe they wouldn't, why are you reviewing Funny Farm in December when you're supposed to be reviewing Christmas movies?
It's a Christmas movie.
It ends at Christmas. I mean, the Christmas portion of this movie is what finalizes and fixes the characters, makes them come to their senses. So it's the Christmas spirit that bring the farmers back together at the very end. Boz, have you ever seen this movie before? I mean, I know that's a dumb question, but tell me about your experience with this movie before I ask you to review it.
All right. This is one of those movies that back in the 90s, I would have to stay at my grandparents' house during the summer. Parents were working. I'd stay there the whole day, right? And back then, of course, it was just HBO and Cinemax.
Skinemax.
Exactly. At 10 a.m. in the morning. And and this was just one of those movies, man, that was on loop. Like, I felt like it would come on like once every 2 or 3 days. I do think this was the first time I've ever watched it from start to finish, though. It's just in a straight shot. So I've seen it, I don't know, probably over 10 times. But this is the first time in a while, like over a decade easily.
I watched it like 7 times last week. My wife got sick of it.
God.
But I'm one of those guys that I just watch stuff on repeat, like whether it's Crocodile Dundee 2, whether it's Funny Farm. I found Funny Farm on. I was like, I remember Funny Farm being really good. So, my experiences with Funny Farm go back to the illegal satellite days when you had the giant satellite dish in the yard. And I'm not talking about like DirecTV. I'm talking like the massive satellite dish. And you had the pay-per-view channels that you could find on there before they started scrambling them. And these pay-per-view channels ran the same movies 24 hours a day. Yep. So it wasn't uncommon around this household to throw it on, whether it be Revenge of the Nerds 2 on a loop or Funny Farm or Predator. And I just remember loving Funny Farm, thinking it was hilarious. And upon revisiting it as an adult, my cynical self, this movie's even better because as a child, you're fixated on the dog, the ducks, the snake. But as an adult, you appreciate that the town is just full of deadbeats and weirdos. And I think that brings like a lot of charm to this movie.
Well, I want to talk about the lady. And
Elizabeth Farmer.
I'm glad you did the research. Could not. Well, yeah, that's her name in the movie. What is her real name?
Her real name with
the research.
With the power of editing, her real name, Madeline Smith Osborne.
Of course. So I did actually look it up on IMDb. This was like one of her last movies.
What was the deal?
I think her last movie came out in 93.
The Super?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I remember I was like, I've seen this chick in a movie before. What movie have I seen her in? And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, I've seen her in a bunch of movies. I was like, is that the chick from Ninja Turtles? No, it's not the chick from Ninja Turtles.
Oh, it does kind of look like her though. Yeah, April.
Yeah. And I looked it up and she's in an episode of Cheers that I probably saw that she was in, but she's also the girl in Joe Pesci's The Super. If you've never seen that, Joe Pesci is a slumlord and he cleans up his apartment building, but it's a stupid movie, but it's got some good parts. But you're absolutely right. She wasn't in a lot of stuff after Funny Farm, and I thought she was one of the better parts of this movie.
Yeah, she was really good. Mainly, it was like halfway through the movie, I looked her up. I was like, I mean, this lady's pretty good. But I'd never remember seeing her in anything. And there's a reason because she quickly, and I don't know why I didn't say. I guess I could, research it or whatever. But after like '93, she never played in anything again.
Let's see. You reckon she got AIDS?
She might have just married some guy and bounced out.
That's exactly what it says right here. She got married, had 2 kids, and took it to the house. No more child's blood for her in Hollywood.
Who did she marry? Somebody rich or what?
Mark Osborne's what IMDb said. I mean, I don't know what he does, but he probably in the Osborne family. The movie centers around Chevy Chase, and you a big Chevy Chase guy? I know you're a big Christmas Vacation.
Look,
guy.
I love Christmas Vacation is like a top 10 movie for me. It really is. But I mean, I like all the vacation movies. I know a lot of people don't like Vegas. I love Vegas Vacation. I think he is. I think it's hilarious in that movie. Yeah, to answer your question, I'm a big Chevy Chase fan.
This was the first movie that Chevy Chase filmed after, according to IMDb, after coming out of the Betty Ford clinic to get cured off of cocaine and painkillers. I believe this was the first movie he had done since maybe Three Amigos. So he's coming out.
Another. I watched that movie. That was on loop. That and Spaceballs was on loop at my house when I was little. Incredible.
I really think Three Amigos is a very underrated movie.
It's so good.
People talk about Ghostbusters. I think Three Amigos should be right up there with Ghostbusters as far as, the plot and the characters and the scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this question. I know you're going to disagree. Is this Chevy Chase's best role other than Clark Griswold? He says personally this is his favorite movie that he's ever done.
Really?
Yes. He said this is his favorite movie as far as just watching it. Now, he's great as Clark Griswold. And there's some Clark Griswold elements in all of Chevy Chase's movies.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking that this is his second best character. I'm thinking this may be his second best movie behind Vacation and Christmas Vacation. Maybe his third best movie behind the Vacation movies. He does a really good job in this movie of starting out as a famous sports writer. Yeah, back in the 80s, sports writing was a huge deal. It was a big moneymaker. And the idea of a sports guy, a sports writer, packing up and moving to the country to write the all-American novel is a very 50s, 60s, 70s, and I guess 80s thing. I mean, where people were like, I'm just going to give it all up. I'm going to go out into the country. I'm going to write the all-American novel. And nothing in this movie goes right for him. But the original question was, do you think this is his second best role behind Vacation?
Well, I know it was a small part in the original Caddyshack, but I thought he was a good character there.
What are his top 5? What are his top 5 roles? Let's break into this just a second. So obviously Clark Griswold's at the top, right?
Oh yeah.
So then where do we go? You said
Three Amigos, honestly. I mean, I thought he was great in Three Amigos. I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot about that movie. Caddyshack, that's in the top 5.
He's got 3 minutes of screen time.
I know, but he was, I mean, that's when he was like huge, right? I guess it was. I mean, he was
what the hell else has he been in?
Dude, after like 95, didn't he like really not do much after that? He was in Hot Tub Time Machine, playing a very small part. I mean, that you could say he was in that, but I mean, God, that was almost nothing.
The fact
he was in
Hot Tub Time Machine from the 80s to Hot Tub Time Machine.
Mid 90s to like that movie. What was he in? Honestly,
he did that movie with Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Oh, when they went the feathers right on the cover.
Yeah, he did the movie where Jack Palance and the FBI were in his house undercover or something or another.
Wasn't there a movie with a dog?
And that was Jim Belushi. You think about K9?
No, I'm thinking about like Fetch, right? Or is that Tom Hanks?
No, you're thinking about Fletch.
Fletch,
that might be his second best character. You got Clark Griswold, you've got Fletch. Those 2 movies are awesome. We've got to review these movies on the channel. Then maybe Funny Farm, then Caddyshack, and I'm still trying to find a 5th movie.
Yeah. Did this guy knock it out, but hardly played in any movies? Like he had like a Hall of Fame career, and then
Hall of Fame career, and we've named 4 movies.
Yeah, he didn't really do anything. I mean, honestly though, I think when you think of him, you think of the vacation movies, like,
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
fact that that's like half of the movies he was in, I guess those 3 or 4 movies. I don't know.
He was
Um,
great in Community, if him, while
I
he was
didn't
in the
see that.
movie.
I know Blake really liked that show. I think he
Yeah,
did.
that show was really good for a certain period. That I thought that show rivaled all the top sitcoms there for about a 3-season period, and then it got like really, really silly. But I really am a huge fan of Community, so I thought he was good in that.
He was in
But
it
anyway,
like every episode, like he was a
oh yeah, he
character.
was a reoccurring
Okay,
character
okay.
until him and the creator got into it at the Christmas party, and then he was never brought back ever. They all hated him.
I've heard
Apparently,
he is one of the worst people ever to work with. Like everybody says that.
yeah, that's a common theme with Chevy Chase on the set is everybody hates him. Christopher Columbus, I think, is that his name? Chris Columbus, the guy that directed Home Alone, was supposed to direct
Mm,
Christmas Vacation.
it's
And after
Columbus something. Yeah.
yeah, and after one day on set, he was like, no, thank you. So
Get out of here.
like, there's a lot of people that talk about just how horrible of a human being Chevy Chase is. But I mean, fortunately for me, it's easy for me to separate the human being from the wonderful characters that he plays on TV. So I don't care what he does in his personal life. I love
I
him.
mean, you're talking about somebody that I could give a rip what my quarterback does off the field. Just play good on Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
So Chevy Chase plays Andy Farmer, sports writer moving to Redbud, Vermont, or whatever it's supposed to be in this movie. The movie was filmed in Vermont, and they buy I know I always do this, and you guys always roll your eyes. The scenery in this movie, the scenery, the setting is perfect. It looks like the classic all-American town. It looks like the classic all-American cottage by the pond, wilderness everywhere, trees, just everything perfect, but nothing goes right for him the minute he steps onto that property. First thing I want to talk about are the movers. The big fat guy from Dumb and Dumber that eats the pill.
I knew I'd seen that guy. Yeah, that's it.
His name's Mike Starr. And in one of the best scenes of the movie, he's bitching about this map, which way's north, which way's south, who the hell drew this map. But them pulling up to this redneck who is peeling potatoes on his porch. And he's like, hey, Mac, what's the quickest way to Redbud? And the old man goes, how'd you know my name was Mac?
Hey, Mac, which way to Redbud?
How'd you know my name was Mac?
Just guessed.
Then why don't you guess your way to Redbud?
Why don't you guess your way to Redbud? And he is so pissed off from that moment. He punches it and takes it on down the road. Those two moving characters are really good and a real good start to this movie. Meanwhile, Chevy Chase and the wife are back home, and they're setting up a story for later in the movie because this movie is all about these two building up resentment for each other as the movie goes. Like the movie starts, they got a picnic basket. She says they're out of food. They're having to sleep on the floor because the other guys the movers are lost. And he hears her eating an apple before he falls asleep.
While he's trying to sleep.
So the movers come rolling up, and he's bitching at them. And this is after they've almost fallen through a bridge. And they grab his and they start throwing it into the lake.
So I don't want a lot of scratches and scrapes. Just take it easy on the floors, okay? Hey, fella, hey! Wait! Stop!
He just walks into the lake. He like walks to the edge of the lake and just throws it in there. It says, "Look, we haven't eaten in like 48 hours. We had to sleep outside, or I think you said we had to sleep outside with the animals,
with the bugs."
Yeah.
You slept on the floor, huh? We slept outside with the bugs and the wild animals. A bridge nearly killed us. Nobody knows where the hell Redbud is, and we haven't eaten since yesterday morning. So stay the hell out of our way and keep your mouth shut.
Boz, could you write a novel?
I mean, I could, but it doesn't mean it's going to be good. He wrote this thing called The Big Heist. That was really the whole reason, right, of moving out there, because he wanted to write a novel. He wanted to get away, start a family, and write a novel.
Did they say start a family?
He hints at it several times that that's one of the reasons, or at least later on. Maybe he doesn't say it at first, but like halfway through the movie and on, it's obvious they want to start a family. So, but the primary point at first is to get out there and write a novel. And dude, he doesn't have. He doesn't have. It looks like he doesn't have the patience to write a novel. He's never. And okay, here's another thing. I would assume, like you said, he's a phenomenal sports writer.
Yeah.
You would think he would do something in sports.
Yeah,
Like,
the book will be related to sports. Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right. Not 4 poker players robbing a casino. Which I mean, I would read that book, but I'm just saying, I don't know. It seems like he would do something else in that. And I don't know. Here's another thing. Here's the thing I wish they would have said about. I don't know the timetable from once they move or into the house to when he has the first draft of the first few chapters that he gives to her on their anniversary. How long has that time been? We don't know.
You got to think they arrived during the summer, and then the movie ends during Christmas. So, but like you said, we don't know if it's been 2 months or whatever. We see the progression. We see him being happy to go up to his writing room, and it's so hilarious, but it's so nostalgic to see the typewriter and his papers there. No way to save it. He has to type it up, sit his paper down, type it up, sit his paper down, type it up. And you see that you go through the process of him going up there happy, and then him being bored, and then him dashing the coffee out onto the sparrow that is constantly singing outside of his office. To the point where like writer's block hits right away. And you're absolutely
Right
right.
away.
It seems like he would be writing about sports, considering he's this huge sports writer, but he's writing about a casino heist, poker buddies. And when he gives his wife the draft of the first 2 chapters, and I don't know why this made me laugh, but she just started crying.
It was that bad. Like, it was that bad. Can you imagine?
Yes, she could not even think of anything to tell him positive. So she just busts out into tears because she doesn't want to talk at all. And he's like, "Was it that bad?" And she goes, "Burn it."
Burn it. That was her response. Like, that's how bad it was. Burn it. Cry and then burn it.
He
And
throws it into
it's so funny because he like basically stares at her while she's reading it. And there's several parts where she should have laughed, or he thought she should have laughed. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Why don't you laugh there?" And then he goes over to her and starts to read it, and he starts laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Am I supposed to be laughing?"
Is this a comedy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was another thing. She didn't know, I mean, is this a comedy? And then
What
she's
kind of
like, "I thought it was action adventure." He's like, "It's all 3." Obviously, I don't think it was any of them.
Do publishing companies just give a $10,000 advance? He's gotten a $10,000 advance from the publishing company to write this book. And then later in the movie, you find out, because it shows random scenes of his wife just like sitting on the porch, writing into a yellow legal pad, that another publishing company just sends her a $5,000 check in the mail because they like her manuscript and they want to offer that for her book. So,
Right.
I mean, was this a common practice in the 80s of just sending, huge checks in the mail?
I think they still do this as far as advances.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just
But you've
mean,
got to be like like an actual seasoned writer. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess they read his stuff from the sports
I
world.
figured he can't go wrong. You
Yeah,
get this guy
that's probably what
$10,000,
it was. $10,000. That goes a long way in the late 80s. Not, not like it would in like the 50s or 60s, but obviously that's a lot of money.
let's figure it. Hold on.
Nowadays that wouldn't
I'm
hardly
gonna
go
guess
anywhere.
I'm going to guess it's like $35,000 in today's money.
Today.
Yeah.
But that is, but because of those advances, they have tight deadlines. I mean, it's like they just don't give you the money, Power of editing.
Okay. So 28,000, wait, my bad. $10,000 in 1988 is the equivalent of 26,000 this year.
I mean, that's a lot of that's a chunk of money.
But you're
They're
right about the
trusting you,
deadline.
Yeah, they're giving you this money beforehand, saying, "Hey, all right, you've got this deadline. We want to see something. We want to see a draft. We want to see a first cut." And then I assume they have different deadlines after that. All right, we love this or change this, and then here's your next deadline, and so on and so forth.
Elizabeth digs up a body in the garden immediately, and she's like, "We got to move." The previous owner, his wife, he had cheated on his wife, and then when he died, he left the wife the house and $10,000 to his mistress, so she buried him on the property. So they come and they take the body. These two goofy looking movers. One of them's Dauber from the TV series Coach. And the other guy, believe it or not, whose name I don't know, plays a bad guy in Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third one. He's
Oh,
he's the big Russian or German or
really?
whatever. He's also the guy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles at the very beginning of it that Steve Martin tries to get his cab and he goes, "You're a thief." And he goes, "Close. I'm an attorney." That's that guy, and they've got him all countryed up with no teeth and things like that. They get the body out, and the sheriff says he's going to take care of it. And one of the running gimmicks they got is the sheriff failed his driving test, so he's got
Yeah.
the local taxi driving him around.
I think he might be one of my favorite characters in the whole show, the whole movie.
Well, look, when we're talking about characters, the sheriff is great.
Mm-hmm.
The mailman is I got two favorite characters in this movie. One is the mailman, because early on in the movie, there's a maniac driving 100 miles an hour down this dirt road, laughing and swerving. He throws out the mail of the passenger side window without even slowing down. So all throughout the movie, it's Chevy Chase trying to get him to stop one way or another. And when Chevy Chase finally goes insane after he finds out his wife has a book deal and he's got writer's block, he sets up a trap where he's got a huge rock at the top of a hill and he's going to roll it down and destroy the mailman's truck. So the movie turns into Looney Tunes with him being the coyote and the mailman being the road runner for a few the shots of the movie.
Have you seen the mailman in anything else? He does look familiar. I keep going back to Scrooged, and I know that's not him, but he looks like a guy in that movie. That was it. Oh, you know who he looks like? And I know it's not him, but he looks like the guy that was in the snow scenes in
Froze to death.
Yeah, he looked like that guy a little bit.
Not him.
No, I know it's not him, but that's what reminded me of him. At the end, he played a great little part there when he comes in.
What's
You know,
we're all over the place with the review.
we are. I mean, but you got to watch the movie to understand what we're talking about. But yeah,
The deal is, towards the end of the movie, they decide they're going to get a divorce because Andy's become a drunk, and his publisher shows up and wants proof that he's been writing. So he gives them his wife's manuscript that she's working on, and they call and say, "Oh, we don't do children's books, but this is great." So she's had enough. He doesn't get out of bed till after noon. She says she's leaving, and they're going to get a divorce.
Yeah, she turns out the D word. Yeah.
They gather up. They can't have a divorce. What's great about this is the attorneys. They can't get them into July, and it's December. So they want to sell the house. So they go to a town hall meeting, and they gather everybody up, and they say, "Look, we want to sell the house. We want you guys to make this piece of town look like something from the 1940s, and everybody that helps us will get a $50 bonus, and we'll donate $15,000 to the town once we sell our home, but we need your help." And like they all get up and walk off until he's like, "There's money in this for you," and then they all just turn around and come back. Like I said, this whole town's great. So they are working their ass off to try to impress everybody that tries to come and look at this house. And after the entirety of the movie of him not being able to get this mailman to slow down or even stop, he is sitting at the table with the two people that want to buy the house, and he hears the truck coming, and the truck pulls into his driveway, and the guy gets out, and his hair is combed, and he's smiling, and he's like, "Mail, Mr. Farmer."
Mail, Mr. Farmer.
And he goes, "I'll weed it out the junk mail like I always do."
Yeah.
And if you watch the scene, the best part of this scene is Chevy Chase is just locked. His eyes are locked on him from the back, staring at him with hate. Like, I've been trying to get you to stop for 8 months, and you're going to do it when you can make $50.
If the people weren't there at that table, I think he might have killed him. He might have just swung at him. You know?
That dude never would have stopped.
Yeah.
He's like,
Well, that's true. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to see the farmers go. And he gives that laugh, that cackle.
I'm really going to be sorry to see the farmers go.
Crazy laugh, man. No,
I guess this has been a good point for us to talk about how the sheriff talks about how he every day when he gets to that point of his route, he's pretty good and drunk. That's the reason he's flying around, driving as fast as he can. But that was great. But that's not even my favorite character in the whole movie, Boz, because early on in this movie, they go out to try to get out of the house and to get Elizabeth into the town and get her meeting some people. And the local softball game's going on. And one of the, I think it's the umpire, takes a bat to the back of the head.
Strike 3.
And these two guys need a third for the fishing tournament. So they take Chevy Chase with them, or they need a fourth for the fishing tournament. And while they're fishing out there in the boat, this one guy gets hooked in the neck.
Oh,
and it's not even Chevy Chase that does it. He gets hooked in the neck with the fishing line. And they're like all trying to get the hook out of his neck. And Chevy Chase is like, we got to knock him out.
Hey, I gotta knock him out. What?
And he just blasted him 2 or 3 times in the face.
He just punched him over and over.
Yeah.
And
He can't talk. He's like,
like,
he's like holding his neck. And he's like, stop.
the guy behind him's like,
You're not knocking him out. You're only beating the piss out of him.
and then
That was great.
when he finally raises up, he's like, oh, look, it come out. And the reason I bring this up, Chevy Chase has to jump out of the boat and swim for it because they're going to beat his ass. But as the whole town is coming through at the end of the movie, singing carols, and they're coming through introducing themselves to Chevy Chase so he knows who to make the $50 checks out to.
I know what you're going to say.
When it gets to him, he tries to damn strangle him.
He's just trying to kill him right there in the house next to the people that are trying to buy the house.
The better scene is when they're at the town hall meeting when Chevy Chase are like, Mr. and Mrs. Andy Farmer would like to speak to the town. As he's walking down the aisle, the guy whose neck got caught, he's like, won't you sit there? And he's the best kid. To me, he's the best character in the
He
movie.
tries to kill him like 2 times.
And I haven't seen that guy in a lot of stuff except for like that movie Bushwhacked where he plays the leader of the Boy Scouts. But he is so good in this movie.
Hey,
So-
but let's go to the last 15, 20 minutes. How good, like picturesque is that Christmas? Just the whole environment. It is like, that is what Christmas is all about. The town knocks it out.
Yeah.
Carols, the lights, the Christmas trees, the snow. I mean, that's like picture perfect when you think of a Christmas movie. Which,
When the town finds out that 2 people are there to look at the house, what Boz is talking about is they've erected a giant Christmas tree in the middle of town. Everybody is walking around caroling, screaming Merry Christmas. Everybody is clapping and being super friendly. And all Chevy Chase can say is this is going to cost us a fortune.
he gets out of the car and it's like, my God, this is going to cost us a fortune. Because all he's thinking $50 in his head over and over and over and over again. And the sheriff shows up saying, great, I'm good to see the farmers out here tonight. And he doesn't put the car in park. It just goes and runs over the Christmas tree, which they don't, the people that are trying to buy the house don't see. But wow.
There's a funny gimmick where he's fishing in his pond and he thinks he's hooked a big fish. And all of a sudden, a gigantic black snake jumps out of the pond and he's running in the background. That's great. There's another scene that I think is hilarious. And I remember as a kid when they go out to the diner on their anniversary or whatever, and he's eating the lamb fries and he's broken the record for the lamb fries. And the lady goes, you don't see somebody who's got a taste for testicles anymore.
How weird is that guy that was at the end of the bar? Like when the scene started, he was eating and he was just staring at him from the corner. And it like he was like all straight. He's like, that's a man who's got good taste right there. I was like, who is this creeper?
There's a man who knows when he's got something good in his mouth.
Watching this guy eat 35 testicles, and he can't believe
Why
what's
were they
happening.
called lamb fries?
I guess because people wouldn't eat something called lamb nuts.
I would have tried one.
This movie, you've got the typical the hijinks with Chevy Chase And then at the end, like Boz said, it turns into a beautiful Christmas movie at the very end. I mean, they are doing Christmas carols in their yard after midnight. And like Chevy Chase walks down and she goes, they're still at it. And then when they get a look of what this town looks like when it's not full of idiots and it's full of people that are like acting normal, they fall back in love again. And she's like, I don't want to sell this house. And he's like, I don't want to sell this house either. I think it was the part where the guy says, we want to buy everything. We want the dog. We want the furniture. We want the whole shebang. And then they decide they don't want to sell. And the guy leaves, or the couple leaves, and they walk outside all happy to tell the town that they're going to stay. And the first thing they say is, what about our money?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got a game for us to play right here.
All right.
Don't say it yet. He slides that note over with the amount in there. We're gonna count 1, 2, 3, and we're both gonna say what we think that amount was. Now remember, this is everything. This is plates, furniture, house, yellow dog, everything.
Property.
Property. 1988.
Yes. My one question before we say this thing: Are we supposed to assume that the $10,000 advancement did that pay for this whole house, or just probably a down payment?
Oh, I would assume just a down payment.
Because that's
if they got this house for $10,000, I'd never move.
Here's the deal: before we get into the 1, 2, 3, he doesn't work. He doesn't work for the entirety of the movie.
He's got to have good savings, right?
Yeah, she doesn't work. So I'm guessing they brought a lot of net worth with him from New York that he had. He was a big time sports writer. So I'm guessing he had a lot of money in his checking account when they bought the house, and he could sit there and he could live off of. Because and we haven't even talked about the running gag of the phone in their house. Like he's like, "Oh, paid extra $50 to have a phone installed." I never even heard of that, Boz, that the phone company would install the phone. I mean, they installed a pay phone in his house is the reason it was supposed to be the joke.
Yeah.
But you buy your own phone. They just install the phone line and you connect it to it.
Yeah. He's like, found the phone.
So here we go. You're guessing what the amount was. What Boz is talking about is at the end, the guy slides a check to Chevy Chase, and he's like, this is more than we're asking. He goes, we want it all. We want it all, even the dog. And this is, like I said, that night's when they decided they're back in love and they wanted to keep living there. 1, 2, 3, 85,000.
All right, you said 85?
85.
I said 140.
140. So okay, I was way off.
I mean, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm way off. It's probably in the middle somewhere.
How much do you think they paid for the house? $100,000?
I'm guessing that house
in 1988.
You got to remember, and maybe this is where I'm overshooting. Remember, it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's in a shit town too.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. The shit town. That's what I'm probably overpaying here. That house is probably 70, 80. And then you would add up everything else. It's probably like 100,000.
Okay.
I think I overshot with the yeah.
Probably offered him 120 if we want to be fair.
Yellow dog, that's a $10,000.
Well, yeah, I mean that's another one thing we didn't talk about is he says if I can't make any friends, I'll buy myself one. So they go get a dog, and he's riding around in that fancy English car that just is so out of place in that town. And he gets out, and the dog takes off running, and he never sees the dog again. It just like runs off into the woods. So she buys him a dog on their anniversary, and he goes to the live. It's sitting, it just lays there the entire time.
Giant dog, yeah. Just she walks in holding it. Its dog has its tail on fire at one point, and it doesn't move.
The dog's laying by the fire, and Chevy Chase has to go over there and take the poker and move the tail out of the fire.
Yeah, he gets up with the poker, and you think he's going to do something with the fire. No, he just moves the dog's tail that's burning out of the way. Doesn't say anything.
All right. So that's Funny Farm. Did we leave out anything?
No, I mean, my gosh, we were all over the place, but I think we covered everything, just way out of order.
A very non-traditional Christmas movie, but I think it falls in. It's definitely a Christmas movie. It's definitely, look, the author of this story, Funny Farm, he had 2 other movies made. One of them was Let It Ride, based off of one of his books. Let It Ride is one of mine and Blake's favorite movies from the late 80s. I think it's 1989. Let It Ride has Richard Dreyfuss. It has Jennifer Tilly and a bunch of bit players about a guy that goes to the racetrack and he keeps letting it ride over and over and over until the very last race. His other movie his other book that another movie was made of was 1991's Quick Change. And I don't know if you remember that movie, Boz, but it's at the very beginning of it, Randy Quaid, Bill Murray, Gina Davis, where Bill Murray dresses up like a clown and robs a bank at the beginning of the movie. And the rest of the movie is him trying to get to the airport so they can get away. It's a really good movie.
Does the writer have a gambling problem? That's the real question.
Probably so, if you had to look at it.
He's putting The Big Heist is one of his books.
Mm-hmm.
Or not a real book, but a book that Chevy Chase is writing. And then you're talking about Let It Ride. And then a bank robbery. Maybe he just likes he's gambling on a lot of money here. Okay. Anyway.
If I read, it would be like a perfect opportunity to go and read these books and see what's different. I love the concept of Funny Farm. I really do. I know I hit it on at the very beginning of it, but the concept of the big time writer going off to the country and then getting writer's block. Because at the end of the movie, he says they made even, the town stayed mad for a while, but they gave everybody their $50 bonuses in the end, and he became a sports writer in the small town. So he didn't go back to New York. And you see that Elizabeth is pregnant at the end of it. And earlier in the movie, he mentions, what the hell do you know about books? You're a school teacher. And she goes, obviously nothing. A real editor would have quit after the first page.
After the first page, man. I think she might even said first paragraph.
He hammered his ass.
Yeah.
There's no recovering from that because he was so pumped up about this book and she didn't want to do it, but he kept pressing her to tell him. And she was just like, it's awful. Burn it.
First thing she did was cry and told him to burn it. I mean, confidence was just all-time low after that. My God.
He spends the rest of the movie drinking.
Yeah. Laying in bed till 2 p.m.
But it's a happy ending. You got to assume that she's right. I mean, and we didn't even talk about what her kid book was. She wrote a children's book about a squirrel from the big city that goes to a country town or a country farm and is like a fish out of water. And she based like the entire book off of people from that town. And it pisses him off because he's like,
he's like, is this based on me? Am I the main character? She said, no. And he said, what's the squirrel's name? And she said, Andy. And his face is just like, okay.
Trust me, we didn't do this movie justice. This is a really good movie. And this is a movie that, like, if I reviewed this movie when I was a kid, I probably would have said this movie is like a 5.7 or 5.8. But reviewing this movie as an adult and being able to take in not only the silly Chevy Chase humor, but the actual story and the town, everybody in the town being so messed up country bumpkin weirdos.
Yeah.
I'm going to go I think this is a 7.8. I really think this is a high 7.
High.
Yeah, I really do. I don't know if it's because it's Christmas time. I don't know, but I really think this is one of Chevy Chase's best movies, and nobody ever talks about it. I think it had like a $16 million budget or something like that. It made $25 million. So it did make money, but he was used to being in like huge blockbusters like the vacation movies. So, he thought at the time this was like a bomb. And I think it like found its life on VHS in the rental stores. So, I mean, this is a really, really good Chevy Chase movie. And maybe I'm just like the last one coming along. Maybe everybody watching this video is like, man, yeah, of course Chevy Chase and Funny Farm is great. But I love this movie. I love the character of Andy Farmer. I really think she is a much better part of this movie. Her evolution, Elizabeth Farmer. Yeah, because I mean, she has to deal with a man-child that is set up for his dream, realizes he can't do it, starts drinking, and like she has to hold everything together. So 7.8, Funny Farm. You're up, Boz.
7.8 is high. Okay.
Well, okay. Let me. With any review, I have the right to go back and change it because I probably have Terminator 2.
Dude, that's got it. If you don't have a 9 as the first number with Terminator 2,
I do, I think. But 7.8, I think this is in my taste.
that's yours. Yeah, it's your call.
It's a
No one's
really
arguing.
good movie. It's a really good movie. And I
Oh,
mean,
oh.
it even ends in a stupid 80s way that I love. I love this movie, 7.8.
All right, I'm gonna go 6.5, which is not people gonna 6.5. It's above average. It's above average. It's not my favorite, but the setting is amazing. I would love to live in this house. I would love to be in this city. Lord knows I don't like the big city. That's why we moved away from it. But it's a good movie. I completely, like I said, when I saw this in the 90s several times, apparently I just completely blanked out and forgot about the Christmas stuff at the end. I had no idea why you
Me
wanted to
too.
review it. I didn't know why you wanted to review this movie. I was like, this seems like a random. I actually almost text you, why don't we do a Christmas movie? But and then I assumed, oh, he's probably going to put this out in like March or something like that. You know, I don't know.
I'm glad you think I think that far ahead.
So I love the whole Christmas last 20 minutes is phenomenal. Yeah, it's not great. I don't think it's a great movie, but it's certainly not a bad movie. A solid 6.5.
All right.
It's a good watch. It's a good family movie, actually.
It really is.
You can have the kids around. I had the kids around while I was watching it. No
It's like a
worries about that.
handful of cuss words, maybe. I think he says GD a little bit, and
I guess I don't even remember. Yeah.
yeah, I think he says GD a couple of times.
Oh, he said shit when he's pulling his thing out of when he's pulling his papers out of the fire.
And he's screaming assholes at the movers when they're rolling up. And the movers like, "Did you hear that?" Nope.
Yeah. Yep.
Those movers, whenever they're about to go, they pull back up to that same old man again. And the other guy's like, "I'll handle this. Excuse me, sir. We need some assistance. I'm glad to help." And he says, "We're looking for a town called Redbud." And he goes, "Well, if I was going to Redbud, I sure as hell wouldn't start from here." And you can just see the big
worst
guy. Like,
yeah.
squeezing. He's like,
Yeah.
"Deal with these hicks." He's like, "Well, you go back that way and you take a left and a right, or you could just go down the road to the bridge here," and they just take off.
Yeah.
And he goes, "But I wouldn't do that." And it turns out the bridge is like rotten, and they take it halfway across with this huge moving vehicle before he throws it in reverse, and the whole bridge just collapses in front of him. It looks like the bridge from
Beetlejuice.
It does look like the bridge from
Mhm.
Beetlejuice. I was going to actually say from Sleepy Hollow, the cartoon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He has to roll across it on the horse. But I mean, everything about this movie is vintage and great, and it's a very low key Christmas movie that everybody probably needs to watch because
Yep.
I think it's definitely underrated. Wouldn't you agree? Underrated?
No, yeah, I would. I would also just say it's probably not rated at all. I think people just probably forgot about this movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, because I had,
It's just
and
not
I
on
own
the
it on
top of
DVD.
people's minds when they're thinking of Chevy Chase movies.
We've got to come back, Boz. Now that me and you have to come back and do a top X Chevy Chase movies.
Dude, can we
think-
get 10? I
That's
don't know
my
if we can get 10.
the next video me and
But
Boz
that
are
would
gonna
be
do in
fun. No,
December,
I agree. We can do that. Yeah.
top X Chevy Chase movies. Everybody knows it's going to be one of the vacation movies is
Oh,
number
yeah.
1 and number 2. But can we come up with 10 movies that we actually like? That's the question.
This man knocked it out for like a 10-year stretch with like 7 or 8 movies, and then that's it. And it was like, what was it, like early 80s to like mid 90s? Knocked it out.
Well, he had the Saturday Night Live run. He's got the bronze statue, the Hall of Fame statue from being with those legends in the original Saturday Night Live cast.
That's true.
Then you've got him in Caddyshack. You've got the vacation movies. You've got Three Amigos.
Fletch.
You got Fletch, man. Fletch is
Funny
so good.
Farm.
Fletch is so good.
Dude, I know we're missing 1 or 2. We've got to be missing 1 or 2.
We'll get off here in
Probably
7.
obvious ones too.
A lot of Skinamax movies that Boz has been watching his grandma.
Yeah, every morning. Don't talk to me. I'm going to the back.
All right, so that's our review of Funny Farm. Tell us in the comments, what'd you like? What didn't you like? Can you name 10 good Chevy Chase movies? Put it in the comments right there. What is your rating? I don't know how many more reviews we're going to get out in December. We're going to try to put out one every week. It might be me and Boz again next week, but we do have a schedule. So as always, we miss Blake, and thanks, Boz.
Yep. Peace.
Hey, next time we got to have those Christmas hats on.
Oh, and sweaters. Yes.
See you guys.